Imagine for just one moment that the trees around you are not silent. Imagine that every trunk, every leaf, every root has been whispering to you since the beginning of time, waiting for you to remember how to listen. What if the forests you pass every day were not just landscapes but living libraries, holding memories older than humanity itself? This is not poetry. This is not fantasy. It is a truth so profound that when you hear it with the right ears, it can change the way you see life forever. From the first breath you took, the trees have been giving you the invisible gift of existence. They breathe so you can breathe. They stand so you can walk on stable ground. Yet behind this physical connection lies something deeper, something hidden, a secret language that does not use words but feelings, symbols, visions. And the most extraordinary part is that this language was never lost. It only waits for you to awaken. Helena Blavatsky, one of the greatest explorers of hidden wisdom, taught that nature is not outside of us, but within us. The forest is not something you look at. It is something you are part of. She insisted that behind every form, there is a soul, and that trees are not passive beings, but spiritual presences, guardians of mysteries that human eyes too often ignore. To her, every tree was a bridge between visible and invisible worlds, a temple of silence where the eternal could be heard. Now imagine walking into a forest with this awareness. The air feels different, almost sacred. The ground seems to pulse with something alive, something that recognizes you. Suddenly, you are no longer a visitor. You are remembered. The forest has been waiting. And in that moment, a question rises inside you. What message has been waiting for me? What truth have I forgotten? Stay with me until the end of this journey, because what you are about to discover is not just knowledge, it is a mirror of your soul. Once you hear the secret language of the trees, you will never walk through a forest the same way again. What if I told you that the silence of the trees is not silence at all, but a conversation so ancient, so powerful, that your soul has been hearing it since before you were born? Imagine for a moment that every forest you have ever crossed, every tree you have ever walked past was not simply standing there but calling you, waiting for you, holding a secret that has been hidden in plain sight. And what if the reason you sometimes feel peace under a tree, or a strange calm when touching its bark, is not coincidence, but a forgotten memory awakening inside you? From the beginning of time, trees have been more than providers of oxygen or shade. They are living archives. Their roots dig deep into the earth, touching the same ground where your ancestors once walked. Their branches rise toward the sky, carrying the stories of centuries in silence. But what if those stories are not silent at all? What if they are speaking, and the only reason we do not hear them is because we forgot how? Think about this. How is it that standing under a giant oak or an ancient cedar can make you feel so small and yet so safe? Why do people who walk alone in a forest often feel watched? Not by danger, but by presence. Is it possible that trees carry an intelligence we cannot measure with machines, but we can feel with the heart? Helena Blavatsky believed that behind every form of nature lives a hidden intelligence, and that the tree is one of the clearest symbols of that truth. She insisted that to the soul, a forest is not scenery, it is scripture. History gives us clues. Ancient cultures never doubted the power of trees. The Druids of old Europe gathered in groves because they knew the trees amplified their prayers. In India, banyan trees were seen as sacred bridges between human and divine. In the Americas, shamans spoke of ceiba trees as ladders connecting worlds. Were all these traditions mere superstition? Or were they tapping into something modern minds have chosen to forget? Why did so many civilizations, separated by oceans and centuries, arrive at the same conclusion? That trees are not just alive, they are aware. Here lies a conflict that should disturb you. Science, for centuries, told us that plants are passive, unconscious, and unfeeling. And yet, recent discoveries have revealed networks under the ground where trees share food, send warnings, and even nurture their young. Scientists call it the wood wide web. But is that not exactly what ancient people always said? That the forest is a single living body? Why is it that knowledge is ignored when it comes from mystics, but accepted when it arrives in the language of laboratories? Consider your own experiences. Remember the times when you felt drawn to sit under a tree when your heart was heavy. Remember the times when, without explanation, a walk in a park calmed your mind more than any medicine could. Why does this happen? Why do we instinctively know that the embrace of nature can heal us? Could it be that we are not creating those feelings, but receiving them from something far greater? Blavatsky wrote that the greatest illusion of mankind is separation, the belief that we are isolated beings moving through a dead world. But she warned that this is a dangerous lie. She said that nature is not outside of us, it is within us, and the tree is a mirror of the human soul, roots like memory, trunk like will, branches like thought. If this is true, then ignoring the language of the trees is like ignoring a part of yourself. Now imagine this. You enter a forest alone. The air is dense, the ground soft. The light falls in golden fragments between the leaves. You stop. You close your eyes. You touch the bark of a tree. For a second, nothing happens, and then you feel it. A vibration, subtle but undeniable. A message that is not words but presence. Your body feels it before your mind can explain it. You realize that something is looking back at you, something that was always there, silent but alive. How do you explain that? How do you explain that sudden certainty that you are not alone? Every great mystery begins with a question. So I ask you, what if you could learn to listen? What if the secret language of the trees is not only real but waiting for you, ready to show you truths about yourself, your past, and your destiny? Would you dare to open that door? Or would you walk away pretending it is only imagination? But here is the most unsettling thought. The trees are already speaking. The real question is, are you ready to hear them? Because once you do, once you cross that invisible threshold, you will never again look at a forest or even a single tree with the same eyes. And this, my friend, is only the beginning. The first step of a journey that will lead us deeper into revelations that may change everything you believe about life, about nature, and about yourself. Have you ever wondered why some moments in your life seem to push you towards silence? Almost forcing you to step outside, to breathe, to stand under the open sky as if the world itself were trying to remind you of something? Think of the last time you felt overwhelmed by thoughts, by the noise of responsibilities, by the endless stream of worries. Maybe you walked into a park, or you stopped under the shade of a tree on the side of the road, and somehow, without asking for it, a sense of calm came over you. The chaos in your mind softened. Your breathing slowed. For a brief moment, you felt whole again. Why does this happen? Why does something as simple as standing near a tree carry the power to shift your state of mind? Ancient traditions believed that the forest speaks directly to the soul, not through words, but through presence. Helena Blavatsky described it as an eternal dialogue. The tree offers and the soul remembers. But in our modern lives, we call it coincidence. We explain it away as nothing more than relaxation, or just a nice walk. Yet deep down you know there is more to it, because sometimes the change is too sudden, too profound, too real. Could it be that the trees are still speaking, and your soul still remembers how to listen? Imagine the tree outside your window, the one you rarely notice. It has been there through storms and seasons. It has seen the years of your life pass, quietly present as you rushed by without looking. What if that tree has been silently reaching toward you all along? What if every time you felt a strange comfort near it, it was offering you something more than shade? It was offering you a fragment of truth. Stories of people who discovered this connection are not rare. A man once told how in his darkest days of grief, he would sit under an old pine tree near his house. He didn't pray, he didn't speak, he simply sat. Over time, he began to feel that the tree was listening. He said the pine absorbed his pain, and in return gave him strength he could not explain. It didn't erase his sorrow, but it allowed him to rise again. How many of us have unknowingly felt the same? How many times have you leaned against a tree and walked away lighter, as if something invisible had been lifted from you? The more you reflect on it, the clearer it becomes. These are not accidents. These are reminders. Blavatsky believed that the visible world is only a shadow of the hidden one. And if this is true, then the trees around you are not just background to your life story. They are guides, waiting patiently for you to recognize them. But here lies the mystery. Why do we resist this truth? Why do we live as if nature is separate from us, as if trees are decorations rather than companions? Perhaps it is fear. Because once you accept that a tree can speak, you must also accept that the world is far more alive and far more aware than you were taught to believe. And with that realization comes responsibility, the responsibility to listen. So here is the moment where you decide. Will you walk through life ignoring the voice that has always been calling to you? Or will you allow yourself to pause, to listen, to feel the invisible thread that connects you to the living earth? If your answer is yes, then write these words in the comments below, not just as a sentence but as a declaration. I listen to nature. Let it be a mark of your awakening, a signal that you are ready to remember. And if you truly feel chosen to continue this journey, then prove it now. Somewhere on the screen there is a red button. Only the chosen will click it. Only the ones who are ready to awaken will subscribe and join this circle of remembrance. Click it and carry the blessing of knowing you are no longer just a spectator in life. You are part of the secret dialogue of the trees. And remember this, the forest does not forget. Every time you walk among trees, they recognize you. They wait for you. They call you. The question is, will you answer? Science has always tried to measure the world through numbers, experiments, and proofs. Yet in recent years, something extraordinary has happened. Research has started to confirm what ancient wisdom always declared. Trees are not silent observers of life. They are active participants. Underground, beneath the soil that looks still and lifeless, lies a vast web of roots and fungi that connect entire forests. Together, scientists call it the Wood Wide Web. Through this hidden network, trees share water, nutrients, and even warnings. A mother tree can feed her young seedlings when they are too small to reach sunlight. Dying trees can send their last reserves of energy to the living. This is not imagination. It is real, proven, and measurable. But here's the question. If they care for each other in ways so profound, what else are they capable of? Imagine a tree sensing danger, not by seeing or hearing as we do, but by feeling vibrations in the soil, by recognizing changes in the air, by listening to signals carried in the underground network. When one tree is attacked by insects, it can release chemical messages that warn its neighbors, who then prepare their own defenses before the threat even arrives. It is as if the forest breathes as one, as if every individual life is part of a greater consciousness. Does this not remind you of something? That feeling when you enter a place and sense a mood without anyone speaking. Could it be that humans and trees are not so different in the way we connect? The idea that trees feel may sound strange, but researchers have discovered electrical signals traveling through their roots, leaves, and trunks. These signals change when a tree is under stress, when it is cut, when it is burned. Some scientists describe this as pain, others as awareness. Whatever the word, the truth is clear. Trees respond, they react, they communicate. And if they can feel, what does that mean for the way we treat them? What does it say about the forests that are cut down, burned, and left in silence? Pause for a moment. Ask yourself honestly, when you see a fallen tree, do you see only wood? Or do you sense the ending of a story? When you walk past a park, do you notice the individuality of each tree? Or do you see them only as background? What if each tree carries not only its own life, but fragments of yours as well, waiting to be remembered? Some of the most respected voices in spirituality believed this. Helena Blavatsky taught that the material world is only a shell, and that behind every form lies a living essence. To her, trees were not passive, but conscious bridges between human beings and higher realities. She described them as temples of wisdom, channels of memory, symbols of the eternal cycle of life. And now, as science begins to confirm parts of this vision, a new picture is emerging, one where mysticism and research point to the same truth. Consider the simple yet powerful fact that every breath you take is connected to a tree. Without trees, you would not exist. And yet, the relationship goes deeper. Many people who spend time in forests experience a shift in consciousness. They report visions, clarity, even the dissolving of fear. Doctors today call it forest bathing, a therapy that reduces stress, lowers blood pressure, and restores balance. But what if it is not therapy at all? What if it is communication? What if the forest is not healing you but reminding you of the harmony that already exists inside you? Have you ever asked yourself why you feel lighter in nature, as if your burdens fall away? Why is it that people who spend more time among trees often feel more hopeful, more inspired, more alive? Could it be that the forest does not just clean the air, but also the human heart? There is another mystery that unsettles scientists. When one tree is cut, nearby trees often change their growth patterns. Some slow down, others release chemicals into the soil, some even direct more resources to younger trees. This behavior cannot be explained by survival alone. It suggests something greater: empathy, cooperation, memory. How could unconscious beings act with such wisdom? Unless, of course, they are not unconscious at all. Imagine for a moment that forests are not collections of individuals, but vast minds, alive and aware. Every tree a neuron, every root a synapse, the earth itself functioning as a brain. If this is true, then when you walk through a forest, you are not moving among trees. You are walking through thought, through memory, through a living being that notices you. Does that idea frighten you, or does it awaken something inside you? This is where the boundary between science and spirituality begins to blur. The measurements tell us trees communicate. The experiences tell us they can transform us. And philosophy tells us they may be conscious. But none of this is complete without you. Because what use is this knowledge if you never test it yourself? What is the value of knowing that trees may speak if you never learn to listen? So here is a challenge. The next time you see a tree, stop. Place your hand on its bark. Breathe slowly. Quiet your thoughts. Stay there, even if it feels strange. And then ask yourself, what do I feel? What changes in me when I allow myself to be still? Do I sense warmth, peace, or a kind of silent recognition? Or do I feel nothing at all? Whatever happens, it is real, because it is yours. And in that simple act, you will have taken the first step into the mystery. If the forests truly remember, if the trees truly speak, then the question that remains is not whether they are alive, but whether you are ready to be alive with them. And if you are ready, then the journey ahead will take you deeper than science, deeper than myth, into a truth that cannot be measured or doubted, only experienced. What waits for you in that silence? What secret will the trees reveal when you finally decide to listen? Imagine stepping into a forest where the air feels heavy with secrets, where every sound is not just noise but a signal waiting to be understood. You walk deeper, and with each step, you feel something watching. Not in a threatening way, but with a presence so real that your body reacts before your mind can explain it. This is not imagination. All over the world, people describe the same sensations when entering ancient woods. In Japan, entire programs are built around forest bathing, where citizens spend hours walking among trees as a form of therapy. Studies show that after just 1 hour in a forest, stress hormones drop, heart rate stabilizes, and creativity increases. But what if these changes are not only biological reactions, but responses to a dialogue? What if the forest is not simply affecting your body, it is speaking directly to your soul? Stories echo this possibility everywhere. In the Amazon, shamans speak of visions granted by trees during ceremonies, claiming the spirits of the forest teach songs and healing practices. In Northern Europe, myths tell of sacred groves where leaders sought counsel, not from men but from the trees themselves. In Africa, elders pass down the memory that certain trees protect villages, punishing those who harm them. It seems that across continents and centuries, humanity has always known something we now treat as forgotten myth, that trees are not silent, they are guides. But let us stop for a moment. Think about your daily life. How many hours do you spend inside, surrounded by screens, cut off from the natural world? A recent study found that the average person in a modern city spends more than 90% of their time indoors. Another survey revealed that children today spend less time outside than prison inmates. What is the cost of this separation? Depression, anxiety, and feelings of emptiness are increasing at alarming rates worldwide. Could it be that our disconnection from trees, from forests, from nature itself, is not only harming the planet, but slowly breaking something inside us? Global statistics reveal an even deeper tragedy. Every second, an area of forest the size of a football field disappears from the earth. In a single year, millions of hectares vanish, taking with them countless species, medicines not yet discovered, and voices of trees that will never be heard again. Yet, while destruction continues, those who spend time with forests report something extraordinary: a return to balance, a sense of belonging, a recognition of being part of something larger. Why do you think this happens? Could it be that the trees still remember us, even as we forget them? There are unexpected facts that science cannot fully explain. For example, in Switzerland, studies showed that people who live near forests are less likely to suffer from mental illness. In South Korea, schools have started programs where students learn in outdoor classrooms surrounded by trees, and the results show better focus, less aggression, and stronger memory. In Finland, doctors even prescribe nature time as a treatment for chronic stress. Why do trees have such power over us? Helena Blavatsky would argue that it is because they are not separate from us at all. She described them as mirrors of the human soul, external forms of the same spiritual essence. To ignore them is to ignore ourselves. Now picture this. You are standing before an old tree, perhaps hundreds of years old. Its trunk is scarred, its bark rough, its branches stretched wide like arms ready to embrace. You place your hand against it. At first it feels like touching wood, but as you breathe slowly, something begins to shift. You sense warmth, a pulse, a vibration. Suddenly, you remember moments from your childhood, running through parks, hiding beneath branches, climbing as if trees were guardians of your adventures. And you realize this tree has been here longer than your entire family line, watching generations pass. What could such a being tell you if you allowed yourself to listen? Statistics tell us that a tree planted today could live for centuries, outlasting you, your children, and even your grandchildren. Some of the oldest trees on Earth are over 5,000 years old, older than every written book, every empire, every city you know. And still they stand, breathing quietly, holding memories of the earth itself. Does this not make you wonder what wisdom is contained in their silence? What truths are waiting for us in their presence? Blavatsky believed that when you approach a tree with respect, you are approaching a gate to the eternal. She warned that most people rush through life blind, never pausing to hear the whispers of nature, and therefore missing the revelations hidden all around them. But when you finally stop, when you allow yourself to stand still among trees, the illusion of separation begins to break. Suddenly you feel not like an isolated being, but part of a vast network of life. There are testimonies of people who, during personal crises, found their only comfort by spending hours in the forest. A woman who lost her family described sitting with her back against an oak tree every day. Over time, she said the tree became her companion, a silent listener who absorbed her grief and gave her strength. She claimed that after months, she felt the tree had spoken to her, not in words, but in a certainty that she was not alone. How do we explain this? Is it psychological healing, or is it a dialogue too subtle for science to capture? The forest has another secret. Researchers discovered that people exposed to the scent of pine trees showed increased immune function for weeks after. Others found that simply looking at trees outside a hospital window speeds recovery for patients. Even in prisons, inmates with access to views of greenery are less violent and more stable. If this is the impact of simply seeing trees, imagine what happens when you consciously listen to them, when you treat them not as background, but as beings with presence and awareness. As you reflect on this, notice the tension rising within you. Part of you wants to believe, part of you hesitates. Is this real? Is this possible? This conflict is the doorway, because the truth is not hidden in some distant place. It is here, in the ground beneath your feet, in the leaves above your head, in the silence between your thoughts. The question is not whether trees speak, but whether you are willing to listen. And once you do, you will discover that their language is not made of words. It is made of presence, memory, and emotion. It is a language you already know, deep inside. So let us prepare for the next step. You have walked through the knowledge of science, through the echoes of tradition, through the stories of healing. You have seen the statistics, the facts, the evidence that trees are more than what we assumed. Now the path is narrowing, leading us deeper into the heart of the forest. What waits ahead will not only confirm what you have felt so far, it will challenge everything you thought you knew about silence, about consciousness, and about the world itself. There comes a moment in every journey when the silence no longer feels empty, but full. If you have reached this point, it means you have already opened yourself to the possibility that trees are not background, but presence. They are not simply living matter, but guardians, mirrors, and teachers. This final step is not only about understanding, it is about applying. Because knowledge without action fades like smoke, but knowledge put into practice reshapes your life. You may ask, how can I truly begin? The answer is not complicated, but it requires intention. The first step is preparation. Before you walk into a forest or even stand before a single tree near your home, you must pause. Leave your distractions behind. Do not carry your problems into this moment as burdens to throw away, but as stones you will place gently on the ground. Prepare yourself as if you were about to enter a sacred space, because you are. The second step is presence. Approach a tree with the same respect you would offer a wise elder. Do not rush. Walk slowly. Notice the details, the texture of the bark, the movement of leaves, the sound of the wind through its branches. Stand close, breathe deeply, and allow yourself to become still. This is not about forcing something to happen. It is about opening a door inside yourself. When the noise of the mind softens, the language of the tree can begin to reach you. The third step is connection. Place your hand on the trunk, or sit at the roots, and close your eyes. Breathe in rhythm with the tree. Imagine your breath as part of its breath, your heartbeat as part of its pulse. Do not seek visions or words. Simply listen with the part of you that feels. Sometimes you may sense warmth, sometimes an image, sometimes nothing at all. Accept it all. The key is consistency. The more you practice, the more natural this connection becomes. The fourth step is gratitude. When you finish, never walk away as if nothing happened. Whisper a word of thanks. Leave a simple offering if you wish. A flower, a thought, a song, or even just your silence. Gratitude is what turns a simple act into a sacred exchange. It builds a bridge between you and the living world, a bridge that grows stronger each time you cross it. The fifth step is integration. Do not leave the experience in the forest. Carry it back into your daily life. If the trees teach you stillness, bring that stillness into your conversations. If they remind you of patience, let that patience guide your choices. If they give you a sense of belonging, let it heal your relationships with others. The purpose of listening to trees is not escape, but transformation. The forest teaches you not to run away from life, but to live it with deeper awareness. The sixth step is continuity. Choose one tree near you to be your companion. Visit it often in different seasons, in moments of joy and in moments of difficulty. Over time, you will notice how your bond grows, how the silence between you feels more familiar, more alive. This tree becomes a mirror, showing you your own growth, your own changes, your own hidden strength. And through this relationship, you will discover that listening to one tree is listening to all. This is the plan. Prepare, be present, connect, give gratitude, integrate, and continue. Simple steps, but powerful enough to change the way you live. And if you doubt whether this can work, remember that millions of people across the world are already discovering the healing power of forests. Science measures it in hormones and brain waves. Spirituality describes it as awakening. But in the end, what matters is your experience. What matters is what you feel, what you learn, and how you change. So I ask you now, are you ready to take this knowledge and turn it into practice? Are you ready to stop being only a spectator of life and to become an active participant in the dialogue of the earth? The choice is yours. But know this, every time you walk past a tree without noticing, it still notices you. Every time you ignore the forest, it still waits. And every time you decide to listen, the trees are ready to answer. If you felt even a spark of truth in these words, do not let it fade. Begin today. Find a tree, sit with it, and listen. Then return and share your experience, not for approval, but to inspire others who are walking the same path. Leave a comment, even anonymously if you prefer, and let us know what you felt, what you discovered, or what questions remain in your heart. Write your truth, and let others know they are not alone in their journey. And if you believe you are one of the chosen who will not only listen but act, then show it now. Subscribe to this channel by clicking the red button you see on the screen. It is not just a button, it is a symbol that you are ready to join a community of seekers, ready to awaken, ready to remember. Like this video so the message reaches more hearts. Share it with those who need to hear it. And above all, never forget, the forest is waiting, the trees are speaking, and the moment to listen is now.